Hi there, my name is Julia Atwood. I am the Marketing and Promotions Assistant here at the Boulder Bookstore. I'm usually the person on the other side of the camera. And I also do a lot of our email marketing, our in-store marketing, marketing for events and all that kind of thing. So I'm usually behind the camera, so don't forgive me if I'm a little nervous being on this side of the camera. I love reading a lot, as you might imagine, working at a bookstore, but my background is also in art and art history. So I really love books as art objects or as objects. And so I'm really drawn to books when they are done in a way that really is aesthetically pleasing. So I picked out a few books today that did something really interesting with the package of the book. So I have a couple of novels here, or works of fiction, and a couple of works of nonfiction, I'll say that loosely, to share that I'm really excited about. First off is the Compendium of Magical Beasts here, which I was immediately drawn to. The cover is gorgeous, and I love magical creatures, and so I was immediately drawn to this. This book is really beautifully illustrated. It has these gorgeous kind of almost, I don't want to say medical drawing, but a little bit. And it's structured as though all of these magical creatures are real, and the author, who is Dr. Veronica Wigbert Blackwater, is not a real author. The real author is Melissa Brinks, but it's as though she is this scholar of magical creatures, creating this kind of tome of all of these incredible magical creatures, and it's structured very much as though it's like an encyclopedia. It's beautifully illustrated, really readable, really creative. I absolutely adored this book, just both as an object, but also for the contents. Next up is Stranger Things, Worlds Turned Upside Down. Probably like many of you, I was a huge Stranger Things fan when it first aired and through the subsequent seasons, so I was immediately drawn to this book for that, but also because they did this really cool thing with the packaging. The interior is kind of your typical, like, behind the scenes shots and, descriptions and stuff like that. But the outside, they made it look like it is a magazine, or not a magazine, a comic book at an old comic book shop. It has this little fair condition sticker on the front, this sort of crinkly paper or plastic outside. It looks torn and ripped and stained, and they give you there's a little sticker here that says "Don't freak," because it is actually supposed to look like this. I thought it was such a creative way of packaging a book about the 80s, gives you that nostalgic feel. It feels like you're picking it up and it was from the 80s. Really, really love this. And it's if you love Stranger Things, you'll really enjoy this. It's a really nice behind the scenes look at the show. Next up, for something a little bit more, I don't want to say simple, but it's not quite as showy as some of the other ones, is Women in Art by Rachel Ignovsky. This is a beautiful book that has all of these incredible women artists just with little biographies and information about them. Her illustration style is really cool, kind of graphic and impressionist. It's beautiful. And what I really love about this is that it doesn't just have visual artists, it has musicians and graphic designers and also architects, all sorts of things. And it's not just, Western focused. It has people from all over the globe. Really beautiful. You'll learn about artists that you've never heard of. And I learned about a lot of people that I had never known about. But the way that it's put together is really gorgeous. She has, I think, at least two others. There's Women in Sports and another one that I can't remember. I'll put it somewhere so that you can see which one that one is. But really beautiful books, and a little bit more contained than some of the others. So lately I have two works of fiction that I wanted to talk about. One is Dune by Frank Herbert. This particular edition, it's, I think, a special edition. It's obviously a special edition. It's just, as a package, it's like the cover is gorgeous, the end papers are gorgeous, and then it goes one step further where the interior of the book jacket is this gorgeous, look at that. Who does that? Nobody does that. And then embossed on the front, it says "Fear is the mind killer." You know, I have never read Dune. My husband is a huge fan of Dune, and so I was drawn to it just because, you know, that connection. It's just, if you're in, like, look at that. Beautiful, and, you know, the edges. Gorgeous, gorgeous book. If you're a fan of Dune, I know there's a movie coming out sometime, hopefully, you know, with coronavirus it wasn't pushed back too much, but just the most gorgeous edition that you could imagine. And lastly, a little bit of an older book, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. If you've never read this book, it's something very, very different than your typical book. It's kind of a book within a book format. It has, the structure of the text is totally different. It's basically this guy finds this manuscript of this book and he slowly descends into madness as he's reading the book, and it kind of documents what he's seeing, you know, with all these scraps of paper and bits of information, and his story is told in a footnote that goes, you know, on certain pages. So you're reading the story about the house, and you're also reading his experiences and his kind of questioning and descent into kind of madness. It's a really fascinating and interestingly put together book. Danielewski's done a few other books. I think that this one is his, like, I hate to say most readable, but kind of his most readable. Even though the structure is really experimental, it still has that kind of narrative thread that you can really pass through. So those are my books to recommend. I hope you enjoyed them, and if you like these videos, make sure to subscribe, and we'll be back next week with more videos.